Good afternoon to you, Tim Smith here. I am the Gleno Humoral Minstrel from the other YouTube channel. Do you know, I'm motivated, I'm pumped up, I'm excited. Why am I excited? I'm excited because I've got a new YouTube channel, not for money, just for enjoyment, and I'm posting stuff and I'm enjoying it, and people I think they seem to like it, and they're giving me thumbs up and all this sort of stuff. But hey, what happens if nobody liked it? What happens if everybody gave me a thumbs down? What happens if people gave me adverse comments, heckled me and said it's crap, get off the internet and go and get a proper job? Suddenly my euphoria becomes despondency, it might become despair, it might become depression, possibly. So what I'm going to talk about here is not how great my YouTube channel is, but actually about motivation. And I've been having a chat with Pat in America about the role that we really need to play in relation to keeping people socially included and socially engaged. We are socially distanced, but that means we're socially dislocated, socially disenfranchised, and socially excluded to a certain extent, and it's a problem. And it's a problem for people. Really, if you're motivated all day, every day, this is not really for you. But most of us have our good points and our bad points. You know, I'm keen on the teams I coach, but of course I've still got to do all the admin and try and get them to turn up for training and answer emails and all that niff-naff and trivia stuff, and you have really low points as well. So this is about motivation. It's an important piece. Depression, okay, maybe. True courage, what you need is courage. But what is courage? Courage is moving forward when the outcome is uncertain, and my God, is it uncertain at the moment. Is it a pandemic? Is it going to last for a year? It can last for 2 years. It can last for 2 months. Who knows? Nobody knows. You can read as much as you want, but you still don't know. So really, here I am in lovely little Linford Wood, and it's a good analogy because what you've got to be doing is thinking about how you individually and as a team are going to start bashing through the forest, the SARS2 forest, because there is an end game. There's a hole. There's a glimmer of light at the end of the tunnel that we're working towards. We don't quite know when it is, but we are going there. And as time goes on, we'll be gathering speed. But at the moment, it's quite difficult to see exactly where the way ahead is. And it's getting more and more difficult as people are more apart. Now, social media. Social media to me is a double-edged sword. If I posted on the internet about, I don't do this sort of stuff, how great I was in something, I don't know how many pull-ups I could do, how much I could bench press. Now that might give me a nice warm feeling, but actually I'm quite aware that that also can have a very demotivating impact on other people, especially if you are living in high-rise. Maybe you've got compromises, like you've got to look after elderly relatives, or you can't do this or can't do that. You've got other roles and responsibilities, and you can't do what you actually want to do. And actually my little bit of personal nice warm feeling motivation for myself actually becomes a big demotivating factor for you. So that's something we need to be aware of when we're posting stuff. I would suggest, it's not advice, it's just an opinion. Having said that, every adversity carries the seeds of an equivalent advantage, and I strongly, firmly believe that. And what we're actually concerned about is, well, we're fearful, aren't we? We're fearful about the future. And if I borrow from my mate Jerry's compendium of great sayings as an instructor, fear, F-E-A-R, future expectations appearing real. Future expectations appearing real. The fear of SARS is worse than, well, it's not worse than SARS itself, but I'm talking about globally. I'm talking about, here I am, Stony Stratford, remotely. So I'm not trying to diminish it at all. But at the more remote areas, there's quite a small possibility of you contracting a condition. Obviously in London, in metropolitan areas, it's a different kettle of fish by orders of degree. But lots of people, we can't see it. We can't see people with it. We don't know people who've got it. And therefore, that makes it more, or us, more fearful. And like I say, that's where courage comes in. It's difficult. You know, if you can see what your opposition is, your enemy if you like, it's easy to understand it. If you can't see it, touch it, feel it, smell it, then that's a whole different ball game again. So we are, whether we like it or not, all engaged on a different voyage of discovery. Now, I use a lot of quotes when I'm coaching, and one of my favourites, you will know it actually, it's called the maxim of the 7 sages. What am I talking about? Well, If you went to the Temple of Apollo in Delphi, in Athens in Greece, there's an inscription on it, and it says basically, and I've got to read this because I remember it: know thyself, you know that bit, nothing in excess, and a pledge comes from madness. Okay, know thyself, nothing in excess, and a pledge comes from madness. Now, if you transliterate that into everyday English, that basically means know yourself, know your limitations. You know, Clint Eastwood, man's got to know his limitations, and don't make promises you can't keep. So what I'm actually talking about here is knowing yourself and taking some time to think about what motivates you, what makes you happy. That's really quite important, that. Knowing your limitations. Now, in my 20s, I was a skydiver. I spent 14 years in the Special Forces Volunteer Reserves. I used to run around with Bergen rucksacks, weighing 120 kilos, jump out of airplanes, and that sort of stuff. No more limitations. I'm now 58. I keep myself fit, but I'm not going to be doing that, am I? Now, I'm not going to be skydiving at 58. Well, I might be 1 or 2 with Henry, but it's not going to happen. So no more limitations, and don't make promises I can't keep. So don't make resolutions about what I'm going to do in the future when I know full well I don't have the capacity or the willpower or the mental toughness sometimes to do that. Now, when I say know your limitations, I'm not suggesting people are limited at all. I'm just saying recognise your own strengths and weaknesses. So in these uncertain times, it might be an idea to just take a look, I would suggest, humbly, at what makes you happy, what keeps you motivated, what keeps you going, what gets you out of bed in the morning. And that's really the starting point, because in rare occasions, I mean, for example, dragon boating. We all love dragon boating. Everyone's talking about getting back in a boat and blah, blah, blah. If you're doing that because you love it and you truly love it and you truly enjoy it, that's great. If it turned out you're doing the sport because you're being compelled to do so because of some pressure or influence, and you ever think about it and think, well, to be honest with you, I don't actually like it so much. That's not a bad process to go through, even if you end up doing something more in tune with what you like. So that's important as well. A re-examination, a review of what you do, why you do it, and that might reinforce your love of a sport, or actually think, to be honest with you, that's not really what I want to be doing anymore. So that process, that decision making, I was just waving to a lady I've just spoken to, lovely lady, once again, spoken to some lovely people in the wood with the kids, walking out. Normally I'd just ignore her, she would ignore me, but we stopped and spoke about it. She's got some ideas about COVID-19, etc., etc. We had a nice conversation. And that's one of the benefits, getting out and about, talking to people, being social, being polite, being courteous, things that we wouldn't normally do. So I've found myself, I've just jumped out of my script here, social distancing has meant more social inclusion and social discourse. Isn't that bizarre? Now, at a distance, at a 2 metre distance, 6 foot difference, etc. But it's meant that I've been talking to people, and I've given her my YouTube channel, and she might have a look and subscribe, and who knows? Well, that doesn't matter. That's not the point. It doesn't matter how many people you talk to. I'm just talking to more people out and about. Anyway, back to my script. Know yourself, know your limitations, don't make promises you can't keep. To yourself, inwards and outwards, reviewing what you do, reflecting, and setting yourself new, realistic goals. Smart goals, if you like. You know, specific, measurable, achievable, reviewable, forgot it actually, shouldn't I? And time bound. Okay, you know that stuff, smart goals. But this is not a coaching video in terms of management coaching. But setting those micro habits, I find, are really quite useful. I'm going to say micro habits. You might have a habit, might set up a micro habit because you want to reduce body weight. You might want to reduce fat percentage. You want to increase muscle mass. You want to do something on diet and nutrition, improve your gut biome, whatever. Doing it in small, incremental, sensible steps and measuring it. People say what gets measured gets mastered, what gets measured gets managed. But I would say what gets measured gets understood. And if you understand the way you tick, for example, I measure all sorts of things, not because I'm OCD, and I'm not. For example, I was interested in COVID-19, so I measure my body temperature twice a day. I'm not concerned about getting the virus as such, but I'm quite interested in what my body temperature fluctuation is during the day. It's bizarre. I'm measuring my body weight because I want to drop another kilo, and obviously I've got a certain range, so that sort of thing. But what gets measured gets understood, whatever you're trying to achieve. So really measurable, specific goals and recording those. Time management, social media, and what makes you happy. So by all means, if what makes you happy is to put stuff on social media, but I would say, in my humble, it's a request, think about what you write and make sure it's positive. What are we aiming to do? These micro habits, what we're aiming to do is build some sort of fortification, some sort of structure. Now, the building blocks, these measurable building blocks that you make, are building blocks to build a tower. And I'm just going to climb a tower here. There's an observation tower here at Little Linford Wood, and I'm going to show you what I mean by that. So just bear with me while I just nip up this this structure behind me. In fact, you can see it there. Really nice wildlife tower. If you come here early in the morning and you climb above the animal's normal eye line, not the birds obviously, it's amazing what you see. So just bear with me. I'll just nip up this tower. If I fall off, call an ambulance for me. Right, there we go. So up the tower. And what I'm going to show you is something really quite spectacular. There's a little frame here so you don't fall off. There we go. Now have a look at this stuff. Look at this. All these buds, the buds of new growth, the buds of new opportunities. And have a look at the surroundings around me. Some nice sort of fire breaks in the wood. Fantastic location. I wouldn't have come here if it wasn't for COVID-19. It's just down the road from where I live, but I'd have been too busy planning stuff, doing this, doing that, to taking the time to have a look at my immediate surroundings, even with the limitations of social distancing, and finding and discovering, not just talking to people, just finding and discovering and working out what is actually the wonderful things in my area that I didn't know were there. It could be local history. I've done a couple of little videos on local history around me. Things I pass every day. Taking the time, stopping, thinking. So, building blocks, getting back to that. So these micro habits, these are building blocks which are building a tower on which you climb, and as you can see here, the higher you climb, the better the view. Now they've got to be positive and motivational building blocks, because if they're demotivating and destructive, they become bricks that build a prison. So as I say, know yourself, know your limitations, don't make promises to yourself that you can't keep. So think about what you're building. Are you building a prison, or are you building an empowering structure as such? Last little thing to talk about, I think, we're into 12 minutes now, probably about 15 minutes, is keeping a journal. Now, 16 months ago maybe, I started writing a journal. I've been thinking about writing a diary for years, frankly, and I've done some quite exciting things and less exciting things and all the rest of it, all the trials and tribulations and turmoil and challenges and excitement and whatever, triumphs of everyday life. I wasn't recording. And I wasn't concerned about sort of writing as a diary, today I did this, today I did 50 press-ups or whatever, yeah? Or started the Wim Hof method, whatever. I was interested in recording my thoughts and my rationale. Not because I was concerned about learning or forgetting how to write prose or forgetting how to write longhand, but I'm interested in the long form of anything. I'm not so much interested in, you know, I write a post, I engage with social media. But you write a post and somebody gives you a thumbs up and says, yes, fine, that's great. But I'm interested in the long form, the nuanced conversation. And that's why I'm talking to you for 15 minutes rather than 2. I'm not looking for clickbait. I'm looking for a conversation and responses if people are interested in carry on the conversation with this and other stuff. That's what it's all about as far as I'm concerned. Social interaction rather than just a quick thumbs up, crack on, yeah, great. So, the journal. It's not really for me. Well, it is for me actually. It's not for Sonia, although Sonia can read it. Obviously she lives with me, she's my wife, I'm her husband. It's not for Henry, my son. It's really just for me to take some time in my day to stop, think and write what I think. And sometimes your perspective, it's like talking to yourself really, I suppose, or talking to somebody else and getting a more measured perspective. So stop, think, write what you think and think on purpose when you're doing it. Because at the end of the day, necessity is the mother of invention. I'm interested that Pat is talking about the same thing. So our two minds, great or otherwise, certainly do think alike on a good many things. Last point, definitely last point. I've got a note in my book, it says contact, support and share. And I'm going to throw my book off the tower here. Contact, support and share. Right. Even the most resilient person in your team You might look at somebody and think, oh, they're strong, they don't need help. Everybody has strong and weak parts of their day, a part of their routine. I would suggest, and it's a suggestion, a humble suggestion, in my humble opinion, contact people that you don't normally contact. Take the time, not just to write half a line on a Facebook Messenger, ask them how they are, write them an email, contact people, be in contact with people that you don't normally or haven't spoken to for some time, even the people you think who don't need it. Share information, thank them, be nice, be courteous, and support each other, because one of the things that comes out of this, and I've seen this on the local level, talking to that family there, talking to other people, if we look after each other, as a community, as a Dragon Boat family, as a wider society, we are stronger, more resilient, more robust. So immunity may start in the gut, but it finishes at the point of a paddle blade in a dragon boat or whatever vessel you use to do your social interaction, social discourse. So please take the time, long form, talk to people. What I say to my squads is, if I write an email to you, don't just read the first 2 lines, read the whole lot. I guarantee it's not entirely waffle, and there might be some information that is useful, but at the very least you can read what I say and see the nuances, read something into it if you want, and get an idea of what I'm talking about, long form rather than just clickbait. Anyway, that's enough from me. That's well enough from me. Last point, absolutely last point. Please, people, in these difficult times, stay safe, stay socially engaged, stay socially located rather than dislocated, even though we're social distances and whatever else. Please stay safe, stay healthy, stay wise, and I'll see you on the other side. Have a great day. Cheers.